because we do love a wedding. But we're going to jump into our top story. We're talking about a potential price hike of consumer goods in Dubai. So the UAE Ministry of Economy, they have approved a new policy that will allow suppliers to revise the pricing of basic consumer goods such as milk, poultry, sugar, salt, rice, basically whatever you're filling your day-to-day basket with, we can expect a small price hike on these goods. So suppliers will they'll need to get prior approval to hike the prices of these, milk, mineral water, even the water. This is one of the things I love about Dubai. Water, bottled water is so cheap. But vegetables, flowers, and more. So the ministry explains that the first category, suppliers will need to submit evidence to prove the rise of import costs, and hence get approval on the price hike. I cannot speak today. So there will be prior approval needed, but this mandate covers 11,000 commodities like fresh and long-lasting milk, fresh poultry, eggs, bread, like we said, cooking oil, mineral water, and more. Suppliers are required to apply for the approval via the Ministry of Economy website before they can do so through a system that is specifically designated for this service.
Now, consumers, of course, have a lot to say about the news. Gay Charlotte Q. Biandis. Sorry. What am I saying? So I mean, people are just talking about this and they're just like, yeah, right, supply and demand, true. However, what cunning suppliers do, they will hoard stocks and limit what they sell and say that supply is scarce, so they can increase the price when in fact it's all stored somewhere. Then they can take advantage of consumers, while of course, and other social media user added that inflation is everywhere, but I believe UAE government will handle it well.
Look, there's a lot of response on this, so that's kind of why we jumped into it as our top story, because we don't want to think about anything getting more expensive. As soon as we hear that, alarm bells ring, and you're like, I can barely afford my internet every month. How you can't go and raise the price of water? But there's, when there's a purpose behind it, and it's not always going to be the case, and there's kind of different reasons to why they do it. So there's a second. There's a second category based purely on supply and demand goods. So if there's demand, then supply will raise.
What I really hate about prices hiking is that prices hike, right? Rent increases, but the one thing that stays the same are salaries. Like, literally, that's what everyone talks about. It's like prices everywhere increase, like fuel prices, this, that, and then why don't salaries match up to that?
Salaries generally do rise every year, and isn't it like
not
inflation?
For all companies.
But my experience is like there's not a big promotion, but it depends on inflation versus deflation in the country. And if I remember my first job here, so I was a teacher, and you would always get that increment based on inflation in the country. And inflation, although it means kind of the rise of goods in a small way, it's a good thing, right? Because it basically means that the economy is doing well, and that means we have more money to put back into the economy. It does also, we can get nervous because it could lead to an increase in interest costs. However, inflation in the UAE is actually, I think it's like 2 to 2.5%, as opposed to like in European countries, it's kind of gone too high. It's skyrocketed to like 5%, and that's when you need to get nervous. But in the UAE, although we're going to see a small hike in consumer good prices, in the grand scheme of things, we're actually, I believe, sitting quite well in the scale of like inflation versus deflation.
That's true. What you said is like really on point, but I really hope employers, they factor all these into employee salaries, because I have a friend who is still in university and he's working at a call center at the same time. And it's been 2 years and his salary has been the same for those 2 years, 3.5 thousand, and it's just not increasing. It's just like at that one level. That one amount. So, So
across the board, you want employers, that's the thing, isn't it? Employers need to be, you would hope that if there's inflation, that employers are always, every year on year, there would be a salary increment. Now, if the cost of living decreases, and that means the economy isn't doing as well, and therefore the employer potentially isn't doing as well either, then in that case, would you expect that the salary would be dipped lower? Probably not. The salary.
But usually that does happen, right? According to how the company is doing, employers do make those calls. They're like, okay, we're not doing that great this quarter.
Oh, it would be very rare for your salary to go down. right?
Or maybe stay the same.
It would stay the same.
Yeah, but like, of
But
course,
in this type of
COVID,
economy,
saw...
you would hope that employers are listening and paying attention.
Exactly.
And after 2 years, some salary would be raised for sure.
Exactly. Now we move on to something out of this world. Emirates is planning